nonstop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
We'll get with the staff, and we really wanted to get through the ramp-up period and get the pads on and see where we're at. What type of matchups and combinations do we want to put together? You know, really in all three phases, there's a lot of jobs and a lot of spots on our roster that are very, very competitive for good reasons. We got some good football players that want to be a part of what we're doing. So I want to make sure we allow guys to do that, allow guys to feel comfortable in new systems while also making sure, you know, we got a mindset of having our best 53 guys available for the Green Bay Packers.
Well, the first thing we need to get Kevin O'Connell is a new microphone.
Yeah, that was very cool. Or
is he,
as an executive producer,
talker?
I was cranked. No, I think it was the Vikings. I'm always fascinated by like press conferences like this, because sometimes people are just like, they aren't monitoring the levels. They just think, hey, we'll just plug all this stuff on, and there's, you know, the intern with the boom mic. That's just it is something I've always observed. It's the same thing if I'm like watching a movie and there's always like a radio station involved. I'm always like curious of where the mics are, like how their placement. I have a lot of takes.
I want to ask the audience, what would you guys like to hear today? Would you like to hear more of Judd's training camp observations and notes, or do you want to hear Declan break down production audio and engineering?
Very important.
And XLR cables. You guys, we'll just wait while you guys type into
Condenser
the comment
mic,
section on the YouTube channel.
USB mic.
Coming up next, when boom mics go bad.
Oh, this is Purple Daily. We have emerged into the month of August. We are in the full swing of training camp, and we are launching 2 Purple Daily spin-off shows within the Purple Daily umbrella of podcasts, a podcast network, if you will. So in addition to these flagship Mackie and Judd, look, Maya's all excited.
Maya, go Maya, Nutrisource,
Fired
baby.
up, man. Football, Nutrisource. So in addition to the regular daily flagship episodes of Purple Daily, starting on Mondays today, you can hear Realistic Randy Rants with Declan every single Monday, and Before We Die with Jesse Pierce and Thor Nystrom every Monday and Thursday, and we're working on a couple other things as well. So check those out. This is Daily Vikings Entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die, and the show is presented by our friends at Surly Brewing Company and TCL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning picture quality. Plus, TCL makes more than just TVs. They offer mobile products, audio devices, home appliances. TCL.com, bringing you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. And one more plug, and then we'll talk football, I swear. You guys have like a day left to get your Purple Daily and or Score North swag. We have a pop-up shop open until midnight Tuesday, so you got 1 day left, day and a half, today and tomorrow. ScoreNorth.com/shop. If you want your Before I Die shirts, Purple Daily hats, koozies, all items are free shipping, so get on it, ScoreNorth.com/shop. And now we talk football. Judd's Vikings training camp notes.
Okay, so spirited practice. Maya, go Maya. Spirited practice on Saturday. Team was off on Sunday. Full pads come on today. I'll say it slowly. I'll say it again because it is football scrumptiousness. Full pads today.
Let's do it, baby. All right, let's go get it.
It makes me very excited. Very excited. I'm football aroused right now. Football aroused.
1,000%. And observation, one big picture wise, is this. We are going to, and rightfully so, spend a lot of time talking about Kirk Cousins, the offense, Jefferson, Cook, the whole thing. And that's great. And it should be much improved. It was already fairly good, but the defense. I want to talk about the defense. I want to get into the meat and potatoes. And I want to talk in particular about what I have seen the defense doing schematically from a Za'Darius Smith and probably most importantly, Danielle Hunter standpoint. And I want to talk about the excitement of seeing those guys move around over guards, over centers, that there is now some question about what Hunter is going to do, which I don't think previously. I mean, the guy's great, right? But when healthy, I don't think previously you said, I wonder what he's going to do here. Like he was going to try and kick the right tackle's ass, right? He's now going to be lined up in different places. He's now going to stand up at times. He's now going to have a hand down at times. And I am just curious, health provided, to see what this can bring from a guy who is clearly, when healthy, one of the best at what he does in the entire league.
So I'm going to preface my response to you by saying Mike Zimmer deserved to lose his job. What I'm about to say does not mean that I am pining for Mike Zimmer to come back in any way or defending the way that he let relationships fray in the building with Rick Spielman and with the players. However, you're already painting, and I'm not even saying you're wrong, but you're painting a picture of what will Ed Donatel do with Danielle Hunter? How will he move this chess piece around in a way that maybe Mike Zimmer wasn't moving this chess piece around? But I think the conversation almost has to start with, this chess piece is available to Ed Donatel, and it largely wasn't available to Mike Zimmer the last year and a half or so. And so late last night, as I took a nap sort of late afternoon, early evening, and I was just awake at 11:30 last night.
Yep.
Just
that time was better.
Yeah, you can't take an hour and a half nap late in the day. It just kind of throws, especially going into a Monday, just kind of throws off your sleep schedule.
That doesn't work.
And so I'm cruising around. The biggest question I had was, okay, what was the Vikings defense like with Danielle Hunter weeks 1 through 7 last year? And then what was it like without Danielle Hunter? Because I think we look back, and a lot of fans look back and just say, the defense was a disaster, blanket statement. It was atrocious all across the board, and that's why Mike Zimmer had to go. And Mike Zimmer did have to go. But if you look at weeks 1 through 7 with Danielle Hunter, and then weeks 8 through 18 without Danielle Hunter, here's what it looks like. Okay, first 7 weeks, the Vikings were first in sack percentage. They were 6th in total defense according to expected points added, which is one of the analytical things that front offices use to measure their teams. 3rd in pass defense according to EPA.
Wow. And
7th in pass defense success rate, which is essentially, on third down, if you allow a conversion, it's unsuccessful. If it's 60% or more of the yards allowed on second down, it's not successful as a defense. 40% or more on first down, so it's success rate. So they were, again, 1st in sack percentage, 6th in total defense EPA, 3rd in pass defense EPA, 7th in pass defense success rate, and they allowed 22 points per game. So 1st, 6th, 3rd, 7th, 22 points per game. Weeks 8 through 18, those numbers go from 1st to 12th, 6th to 22nd, 3rd to 17th, 7th to 26th, and they go from 22 points per game allowed to 27 points per game allowed. Almost a full touchdown more allowed per game after Danielle Hunter was hurt. And if I remember correctly, he got hurt in the first half of that Cowboys game against Cooper Rush, and the Cowboys offense basically splurged after Danielle Hunter was out of the game. So, again, I'm not saying, boy, look, Mike Zimmer should be exonerated. He should be brought back. But what I am saying is we're going to make a big deal out of the scheme that Ed Donatel is going to bring, and look at the way that he's moving these chess pieces around. And I would argue the best schematic thing that you can do is just have Danielle Hunter on the field for more than 7 games. I'll give you one more here. In those first 7 games, the Vikings went 3-4, but those 4 losses included a 14-7 loss at home against Cleveland and a 20-16 loss at home against Dallas with a backup quarterback that they give up 20 points to and a game-winning drive. But when you hold a team at home to 20 points or 14 points, you should win those games. So if we just look at the Vikings defense with Danielle Hunter, it was actually one of the top 10 defenses in the NFL. And getting him back, regardless of scheme, should vault them back in that direction. Your thoughts?
I think it's fair to say it both ways. So what you just said, absolutely. Like, he is, when he is healthy, he is one of the best at what he does. He's not good, he's great. He can be dominant, and if you spend an entire game with him at left end or going inside, he's going to be fantastic. But I also think from a schematic standpoint that it will be interesting to see what he can bring in matchups against linemen of lesser positions, guard, center. Because, I think we're now in a time where, with good teams, both your offensive tackles are pretty good. I feel like it used to be, well, the weak tackle goes to the right tackle. My left tackle's real good. Blind side of my QB protected. Feels like we've crossed now to both your tackles are pretty good. But yeah, there is no question about that the last 2 years, non-playoff years, disappointing years, I think it's fair to say to a large extent, given expectations, bad years have been driven in large part by the fact that Danielle Hunter couldn't play. Well, he's played, 6+ games now in 2 years. Mm-hmm. And when he misses a season, an entire year, and can't play, and you are going to go to a backup or make a trade, and Ngakoue clearly did not work out here. But the point being is, it's absolutely huge. If you give Mike Zimmer a healthy Danielle Hunter the last 2 years, here's my question. Is he fired? I don't know that.
Well, yeah, it's
maybe, but we don't know that.
Well, let's say a healthy. I mean, we don't have to relitigate this whole thing because I think we all agree that he should have been fired for reasons that it's almost a blessing that Danielle Hunter was stripped away so that you could sort of see the other flaws that needed to have a flashlight shined on them.
You son of a.
But like if Danielle Hunter plays from week 8 through 18. Mm-hmm. They're probably not an 8-win team, right? They're probably a 9 or a 10-win team, and they get into the playoffs. And then do you fire a coach who went to the playoffs? Maybe they win a playoff game. But in terms of looking forward, I think the best case scenario here is that he and Za'Darius Smith are both healthy. They're both playing at or near the level that you saw with their peak in 2019, and a refreshed scheme that allows for just some different looks that we haven't seen here with this personnel, and maybe allows and maybe you can address this, but some exotic looks in the secondary. Maybe you're running 3 safeties out there at times because you have 3 talented guys. Yeah. So the combination of scheme, but most importantly, Danielle Hunter, is going to be really interesting to watch here as the season starts in about a month from now.
Don't sleep on Smith, too. Za'Darius Smith, again, and this is all predicated on one very important thing. Can they play? And Smith definitely concerns me coming off a back injury that cost him, I think, all of last regular season, if I'm not mistaken, and he did come back for a playoff game. But the other thing, too, now is the ability to disguise looks with two guys. And the other thing with Smith that I love is if he is playing, this guy will lead. He leads. Now, Hunter leads through great play. But I think he's a relatively quiet dude, which is absolutely fine. Who cares? Smith is a much more of an out there type of guy in a good way. He is vocal. He is excitable, which is not a bad thing. I think he's going to provide this defense with a component of intensity and a persona that I don't think they had last year. Like, Harrison Smith's great, but he's not really a rah-rah guy, right? Mm-hmm. Kendricks borders on that at times, but when I watch Za'Darius Smith in practice, I see a guy who embraces that role, and I think that role can be very important. And if you're really good, it only helps you because then your antics don't seem weird. It's like, oh, of course, this guy's good, and he can galvanize things. So I do think that the combination, and it's clear that these two guys have become extremely close and good friends of Smith and Hunter. I think it's going to be a really important chemistry thing as well, because they're both going to bring a lot on the field, and I think that they are both, with their personalities, I think it's going to work out really well.
I'm just thinking of vocal leaders on defense now. Definitely Za'Darius Smith. I actually think from what we've seen of Harrison Phillips early on in the first few months, and maybe you can provide some observations on this just being field level, but he seems like a fairly outgoing vocal guy. The coaching staff has already raved about Dalvin Tomlinson's leadership. Patrick Peterson, fairly vocal leader, and Eric Kendricks has emerged into that a little bit more as his career has progressed. And yeah, you're right about Harrison Smith. Definitely not the most like rah-rah guy, but he'll definitely have a conversation with someone and explain something. I mean, he is a leader and a captain out there. So interesting. All right, let's keep going down the list of and you will have a much more packed list of things after today's fully padded practice here. We're still sort of skimming things off of the weekend observations here, but
it's hot. We're going to go in full pads. I mean, this will be today as football as you can get.
They should make the media members wear shoulder pads out there.
Sweating football. That's what it's going to be. You're going to be sweating pigskin.
Let's do it, baby. All right, let's go get it.
So we didn't get to this on the special episode that we did on Sunday, Phil. But there were a couple things in the walkthrough, and I ordinarily would not talk about these things because there's sort of a expectation of you're not supposed to report these things. But because fans were there and were tweeting out basically all 22 pictures, it's going to be hard not to address this. First of all, the first thing I saw, which we have discussed on this show and suggested, and I have yet to see this in the actual practices, but they will certainly do things in walkthrough at times that they won't do in front of fans at practice. 3 safety set, which I love.
Hell yeah.
Which is Bynum and Harrison Smith deep, so in the ordinary safety positions. And Lewis Cine, who looks like and hits like a linebacker, is essentially in a linebacker spot. We've talked about this. We've discussed it, so it's not like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. It is exactly what...
Are you supposed to be saying this right now?
It's
or
been
is someone from the Vikings going to come and tase
Twitter.
you in the studio right now?
They might try, but it's on Twitter.
Be careful, dude. We should have Judd put a mask on as he's talking and disguise his voice.
Once
Vikings PR.
Once VikeFan.com for life stuck it out there, guess what? It's fair game. Fair game.
I love that. The plea on the big board. Please don't put videos out. Don't help our opponents. And like the biggest Viking fan Twitter accounts out there with tens of thousands of followers are just like putting out every all 22 video.
It's unbelievable. Every significant thing that they did Saturday is on Twitter right now.
Yes,
everything
with high angles. Not even like
all 22.
Yeah, it's full all 22 video. If you're an opposing scout, you are salivating over these videos.
Matt LaFleur is like, I'm not going to Packers practice. I'm going to watch this stuff on the Vikings for September 11th. It is incredible.
Okay. So do you remember if you could give us sort of the 11-man alignment? So who's on the field when you had 3 safeties on the field? So you had, and by the way, I referred to him as Andrew Bynum somehow yesterday, the old Lakers.
I think
remember that Lakers center from like 12 years ago?
Yeah.
I don't know why that popped into my head.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Too much basketball on my mind. But you have Cam Bynum and Harrison Smith in the traditional safety position. So Lewis Cine is playing up closer to the line of scrimmage where linebackers would play. And then how many other linebackers so what's your defensive front look like then?
You know what?
And are there 3 corners on the field? Who's seen?
That I could not see. That I did not see. But I think what this gives you, though, is this. And I'm telling you, when you guys watch games, you are going to be absolutely floored by the fact that the safeties and linebackers are absolutely impossible at times to tell apart. Like, their builds are the same. They look the same. Lewis Cine, if you were to show me Cine, I'd be like, you know what? I'm not sure where he plays, which is a tremendous advantage. I will say this, and it's a walkthrough, so we certainly did not see it go through the entire process. But imagine this for an opposing quarterback. Imagine you've got Bynum and Smith deep, right? And Cine is sucked up a bit to where a linebacker would be. And now pre-snap, and remember, this is all about trying to deceive pre-snap. Harrison Smith comes up. So now you've got Bynum deep, Smith moves up, Cine is up. Like, there are alterations, and that's the entire thing. I think that's the most important thing about where this league is going right now. Is it's all about how much can I fool you pre-snap? Because you think, and this is O'Connell's point, his goal offensively is to get the answers to the test before the test starts, right? So what you're trying to do as a defense is disguise things so that the quarterback says, I got the answer. And the defense says, you thought you had it.
So
this is a cat and mouse game, big time now, and it's fantastic.
So you could do, I'm just drawing some stuff up here. So you could do, and it kind of depends on like down distance. If you're going to put a third safety out there, are you swapping out a nickel corner? Are you swapping out Chandon Sullivan? Or are you swapping out a linebacker type? But then even then, when you swap out a linebacker, you might really be swapping out DJ Wanham. Because here's what you could do. You could do like Delvin and Harrison Phillips, Delvin Tomlinson, Harrison Phillips up the middle. as part of your sort of 3-4 base. And then Danielle Hunter, Za'Darius Smith, Eric Kendricks, Jordan Hicks. And so that gives you 6 up front in some form. I don't know if Danielle Hunter has a hand in the dirt. Maybe Za'Darius is on
That's the thing.
2 feet, no hands in the dirt. You don't know, right?
Right.
And then your secondary would be Harrison Smith, Cam Bynum at safety, Patrick Peterson, Cam Dantzler on the outside, and then Lewis Cine is kind of almost like he's almost like a nickel corner, but playing in a linebacker spot. But if you think about this, he would kind of be playing if he's taking the place of a nickel corner, isn't he kind of playing the Antoine Winfield role from 10 plus years ago?
Yeah.
Where he can cover. He's not necessarily going to cover down the field, 40 yards like Patrick Peterson or Cam Dantzler would, but he can cover, but he can also come up and blow up a run play or a screen pass of some kind. I just love this. And then you could also, if you wanted to swap somebody out, put DJ Wanham in there for just a little bit of extra pass rush. Maybe you swap out one of the 2 beefy guys in the middle. And we haven't even talked about getting Andrew Booth Jr. in the mix somehow. I don't know if there's ever going to be a scenario where you have Dantzler, Patrick Peterson, Booth, Cine, Smith, and Bynum, all 6 of those guys on the field at the same time, but I would be curious to see if they can make it happen. Get all 6 of those talented secondary players. Man, this is
deception.
So many possibilities.
It's just all about it's all about deception.
The illusion of complexity.
Exactly right. That's what we're doing
is.
here. That's what we're doing here. We're moving the chess pieces around to cause massive confusion. And I think so. To backtrack for a second, I think why O'Connell, because like at first I saw the thing on the scoreboard and thought, typical football paranoia. And look, to call a spade, it is. But the more thought I gave this, I also think part of the thing is he has the opportunity here. He's got some chess pieces that are pretty damn good that the Rams lacked personnel-wise. So like the Rams are built to their strengths. O'Connell was given a team that he certainly wants to bring in strengths that he can take from the Rams. But there are probably players at positions here that the Rams didn't draft or don't care about that he has. So to Dex's phrase, the illusion of complexity is only increased by Matt LaFleur saying, you know what? I know what the Rams do. I know KOC well. I know what he's going to do. And then he comes out with a package and LaFleur's like, what the hell is that? So I think that helps at least explain a bit what the thought process is right now in trying to keep things quiet. Just a guess on my part. I wasn't told this.
Go ahead.
The one thing is, CJ Ham. Sorry about that. My bad. CJ Ham, the Rams don't have a fullback, right? So the Vikings do. And I thought the Vikings would get rid of Ham, but they're not going to. They're going to use him. So there's going to be packages that O'Connell probably has dreamt up that use a fullback that will not be on tape until the Vikings run that play. Sorry about that.
Let me try again.
Really excited.
Let me try again. You want to know why the Vikings linebackers and safeties all look like they're the same size? Because they've probably been on Livia all offseason, just getting lean and mean for the football season, just like Judd is.
That's exactly right. And if they are, you know what? Good for them, because I am down 40 pounds. Dawn, she's down 12 plus pounds. That's right. The Zolgad household is down 50 plus pounds. And now I want you to join us on the Simple Start plan, only $59. One-on-one, personalized and guided support online or in person, whichever is the most convenient for you. Call 855-GO-LIVEA, Livea.com, Livea.com. Start your weight loss journey today. And you know what? In a few months, all of a sudden, all those clothes fit. You feel great. Heck, you might get outside and play football. I don't know. Livea.com.
While we're talking about improving our lives here, Valley Park Medical Clinic is dedicated to providing breakthrough ED remedies to men in the greater Minneapolis area. Valley Park is the only clinic in Minnesota to use the True Pulse protocol, one of the most effective solutions for ED available. Valley Park's approach is medical. The treatments are surgery-free, drug-free, and non-invasive, so don't be embarrassed, guys. Get this area of your life handled. ValleyParkMedicalClinic.com. ValleyParkMedicalClinic.com. ScoreNorth.com. And real quick, also, let's cheers to the summer of Surly here. It's now August, which means we're into basically the third month of the summer of Surly. It's very exciting.
Yep. So Phil took a nap on Sunday, but guess what Sports Dad did? That's right. He took a trip to the refrigerator where there were Furiouses in the fridge just begging me, saying, Sports Dad, you're going to be at training camp all day tomorrow. Drink us now. And I said, guys, I'm going to do it. I'm going to. And that's because the summer of Surly is always, it's a state of mind. It's a state of mind. It is always summertime when you have a Furious, when you have a Supreme, when you have a Logic Bomb. It is the summer of Surly, so do what I did on Sunday. Take advantage now.
I promise this is PG, but there was some text being exchanged of some cans being showed between Judd Zolgad, Chip Scoggins, and Declan Goff on Friday night.
Oh, my God.
Of the Surly fridge, Phil.
Wow.
Phil was not included, but there was some cans being exchanged. I was alone on Friday night. I don't know what Judd and Chip were doing on Friday night, but there was cans being exchanged of what was being drunk, and there was plenty of Summer of Surly being sent across text messages.
Chip Scoggins is in love.
He is.
With Surly.
I love
There's
you
no
guys
question
just
about it.
showing each other your cans.
We just show each other our cans all the
Nice.
time.
That's great.
I encourage it.
We also found out today that Surly is back in for another football season with us here on Purple Daily, so appreciate their help as we grow this thing. So let's get back to Judd's camp notes here. What else do you have before we get to padded practice today?
Formationally, I think that we are seeing Dalvin Cook now, and this comes as no surprise, and it was talked about during the springtime practices, Dalvin Cook being split out at times too. Like, again, the one thing I'm really, sorry about this, guys, but the one thing I'm excited about is the fact that we are going to see Danielle Hunter, Dalvin Cook, so many guys, Jefferson, used in different ways. And I just think that it's going to be, it feels like the previous coaching staff, not that they were bad, they weren't, but they certainly, and offensively, this is 1,000% the case, they certainly weren't as creative as we requested, as fans did, right? Like, why don't you do this and this and this? We're now going to see that. And it's not going to be every play, but I think what's going to happen here is things are going to now make sense. Like, you're going to see them try things.
They weren't exactly innovating on offense. It always kind of felt like, I think on the defensive side of the ball for a number of years, it felt like Mike Zimmer was ahead of the curve. He was innovating. Yes. As I said off the top of the show, it's hard to innovate when you don't have a pass rusher. Like, and even we would, and I stand by this, but criticize him for, hey, well, Danielle Hunter's gone now. It's up to you to figure out how to use the remaining chess pieces. And the reality is, when you take a guy like that off the field, you're just not going to have a top 10 defense. It's going to be hard to have a top 10 defense. But on the offensive side of the ball, it has felt like they have underperformed the level of weaponry that they've had for years. The Vikings have only had one top 5 scoring offense in the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. And that was the 2009 team with Brett Favre at the helm, with a much worse set of weapons. Like, I know he had Adrian Peterson, but his number one receiver was Sidney Rice, who had one great year, the year that Brett Favre made him into a multimillionaire, with that Seattle contract. So if you were to have given the 2009 Brett Favre, Brad Childress, by the way, kick-ass offense, maybe the best wide receiver in the NFL, and then a Vikings Ring of Honor receiver and Adam Thielen, and then, oh, by the way, a really good number 3 receiver that can also maybe flirt with 1,000 yards, and maybe not as good of a pure runner as Adrian Peterson, but a 3-down running back that can also catch passes and be out there, and Irv Smith Jr. at tight end. How the Vikings haven't had more flirtations with top 5 offenses, and they've only had, in terms of scoring offenses, I think they might have been 8th one year under Zimmer, and I don't know that they've maybe it was 9th with Cousins in like 2019 with Stefanski. I think that's what it was. So they've cracked the top 10. Last year they were 14th in points per game with all these weapons. And I get the offensive line's not amazing, but the Rams had no Pro Bowlers on their offensive line. So and they wound up being one of the most explosive offenses. So you can make it work without having perfect pieces all around. Some of it's on Kirk to be better, but a lot of it's going to be scheme creativity and just using the chess pieces better, more aggressively.
When's the last time that you guys watched a Vikings season and thought, the offense, not as good, because Favre was great, but thought the offense is being really creative. Like there are some cutting edge things here that I didn't expect or that are really, really smart.
I mean, this is going to sound ridiculous because the rest of the offense was kind of a train wreck, and I think Christian Ponder was the quarterback. But the 1 year they used Cordero Patterson fairly correctly, where he caught like 45 passes or something, but that's I'm reaching there. I don't think it's been a long time. Yeah,
I'd say 4.
But even
Culpepper,
then,
Moss,
it's like
Burleson.
the innovation was mostly just let Dante Culpepper be a 260-pound bull and run with the football.
But I'm just saying for anything
and throw the
like
ball
that,
to Randy Moss.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm just saying anything where I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. I mean, 2009 was Favre being Favre, but he wasn't. But that was not a schematic creativity phase, right? That's just a guy who was a great quarterback and at that time had an MVP type season. Like, I don't remember watching Favre play and thinking, that's a great play design. I thought, oh, my God, Brett Favre just made a great throw.
Yeah, I mostly agree with that. I think you also tend to shortchange Brad Childress' kick-ass offense that he also took to the playoffs with Tavares Jackson and Gus Frerotte the year before.
Greatest response to a Kevin Seifert question of all time. You still trust this? It's a kick-ass offense.
It's a kick-ass offense. It is, when you have the right person driving the offense like he found.
God bless T-Jack, but he was not the right guy to be driving that offense. You're right.
So is that it for Judd's camp notes? Have you exhausted and emptied the bag?
And I'm probably in trouble. I mean, I probably went too far. Like I saw things on Twitter, and I know that, but I mean, I'm probably. Let's just say this. I think today at TCO, I have to be careful.
Head on a swivel.
I have to be careful.
Hey, Jetty, got a minute? You're going to get one of those from Vikings PR tonight.
Hey,
I need security.
Got a second?
Oh, no, I'm talking from the I might need security here.
You got a minute?
I'll tell you, we made an editorial decision to not post something on TikTok yesterday.
We are
doing our part.
Whoa,
Okay.
You did?
We did.
Well, we had an all 22 video from someone else. It wasn't our video.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's probably smart of you. That's
else.
probably a great call.
I was actually on the water, and Phil put out the fire. Thank God, the executive producer was nowhere to be found during this problem. Then I found it 2 hours later. I was like, "Oh, that happened." But yeah, we're fine. We're okay.
Wow, the executive producer disappeared, huh?
I did.
Listen,
Joined the summer early.
We currently, for as critical as we've been, we have currently a great relationship with the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. You know, we kind of rode Zimmer out of town there.
No games have been played, so that's the best part. O'Connell loves us until a game is played.
We can abide by this. I have one last question on this. Is he falling into the trap that a lot of Brad Childress kind of fell into this early? When you get your first head coaching job and you're trying to control all these things that you really have no control over.
Yes.
Kevin O'Connell has, and I don't know how much sleep he loses at night over it, but a few
lot.
different times he has made it known that he would rather not have media and fans sending videos and descriptions of plays. It's like, dude, there's 6,000 fans watching practice. Everyone's got a smartphone. You can't control that.
No. Coaches are the biggest control freaks of all time. And yes, they often sweat things that they shouldn't sweat because there's no sense, right? Like my whole thing is this. If I was to advise a coach, I would say focus and sweat the things that you can actually affect. So like trying to contain 6,000 people is a waste of your time. And also, here's the thing too that I don't get. If you're going to do that, okay? And this is not a criticism, but it's a suggestion for what if I was to be consulted, which I have not been. If you're O'Connell and you're like, you know what, I am really afraid the fans are going to be showing stuff. I'm trying to do things that the Rams didn't because everyone's right now watching Rams film to prep for the Vikings. I would say this. Okay, Kevin, if you really want to like try and stop this, here's what we do. Because putting a note on a scoreboard is an instruction of you shouldn't do this. It's very impersonal. I would actually have him get on a mic before practice and address the fans briefly and say, we're all on the same team here. We're trying to win. I know this seems weird, but we would really appreciate if as part of the team, you didn't film things and share them. I can't stop you, but I would really appreciate once action starts, because like if guys are going through drills, who cares, right? But basically, once they start to run plays, they don't want that out. And I would address the fans and say, you know what, we would prefer and please, because you are as important as the players are. Just a bunch of BS, basically. But I think that would have a much better chance of working than this don't show anything on the scoreboard.
But okay, I think there's like 5,000 or 6,000 people that can go to these practices. That's the capacity for that stadium.
Okay.
If you get on the microphone and tell 5,000 people, hey, we can't come up there and rip your phones out of your hands, but we would really appreciate it if you wouldn't help the Packers by giving them any footage of our offense from an all-22 angle here. If one person out of 5,000 posts a video and somebody else with a large amount of followers retweets it or shares it on Instagram or whatever, or TikTok, it's over.
Buzz Factory. All you guys do is Buzz Factory. No, you're right. I agree with you. I'm just saying I think putting a message on the scoreboard is probably the most ineffective way to go about what they're trying to do. I agree with you, Phil. I would say, you know what? Don't sweat it. Stuff's coming out from the Giants, the Saints. I mean, there's stuff all over Twitter.
Here's a dumb question.
I would say don't sweat it.
Are fans allowed at all of the practices or just the stadium practices?
Actually, these aren't stadium. It's the back fields there. They've got 3. So there's one stadium practice, and then the rest of the time they're on, I think it's 3 fields up on the hill in the back there.
But
and
fans
that's where
can see all of this, right?
Are watching. Yes. And fans are allowed now, I think, for the rest of training camp, which I think runs now. I think the duration's 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that.
Okay. But every team in the league deals with this. This
100%.
isn't a new phenomenon.
I would tell them, I would say, don't sweat it. Like, let's worry about Kirk.
Yeah.
Let's worry about Mond. That's what I would say.
If there's some certain things that you'd rather withhold until, because at some point, the public will no longer be allowed at practice. There's after 3 weeks, the media and the fans can't watch. The media can only watch like the stretching and the individual drills at a certain point.
They can do all they want.
Weeks. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So just save some of that stuff.
I think that he is, I believe from what he has said, he is not going to run in anything he considers truly proprietary in front of fans.
Yeah, okay.
So just don't worry
some
about
of these electric plays that we're seeing aren't even like the best plays in his playbook.
Oh, hell no. In fact, if he's smart,
KJ
they're
Osborne,
they're
40
dummy
yards
plays.
down the field. Mm-hmm.
In fact, if he's smart, he's doing he's dumbing some plays up and running them, and the Packers are like, we got you. And he's like, you don't got me.
CJ Ham, 40 yards down the field.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wheel route.
Subterfuge. Look it up.
Josh
Subterfuge.
Sokol, the third-string center, Josh Sokol, reports eligible.
It's a Statue of Liberty play.
Oh, what are they going to do? No, it's all coming.
It's the annexation of Puerto Rico. That's right, Packers. You never know when it's going to strike. All right, what are people saying about the Minnesota Vikings? Well, this is more of an internal thing, but they're saying that Jared Allen is a Ring of Honor caliber player. He will be inducted into the Vikings Ring of Honor later on this season. One of the biggest and I would say most effective trades in franchise history when they traded, was it a first and 2/3 or 2 firsts and a third? Something along those lines to the Kansas City Chiefs.
One first, a second, and a third? I forget.
Yeah. Something like it was 3 draft picks and a first-round pick to the Chiefs, and then a massive contract to take Jared Allen from age 26 through age 32.
Yep.
And in that 6 years with the Vikings, he had one of the best sack outputs in franchise history, and the guys above him all played a lot more games with the Vikings. So he's 6th on the Vikings all-time sack list with 85.5 sacks, only played 75 games. I believe he's the only Viking in the top 6 to average more than a sack per game. I take that back. He played 96 games, 85 sacks, so it's close.
Yeah.
But his sack rate per game much higher than everybody else in the top 10 on the Vikings all-time sack list. So how will you guys remember Jared Allen, now a Ring of Honor member?
I mean, one of the most charismatic players in franchise history, just a dude who loved the energy and loved getting the crowd pumped up to keep throwing the clip from 2012 against, I forget the Buccaneers tackle at a Thursday night football game in 2012, which the Vikings lost, by the way, but he basically whooped them.
Josh Freeman.
It was Josh Freeman game with the Bucs. And I remember watching that game. Like I was like a sophomore, I think, in college, and it was a Thursday night football game, so Thirsty Thursday, right? Like sophomore in college, all about that life, and he sacks Josh Freeman, and I'm still about it. Yeah, it hasn't changed. 10 years later, it still hasn't changed. But he sacked Josh Freeman with the whole place at the house, just the roof blew off, right? And I think when you think of like that era of Vikings football, you think AP, you also think Jared Allen, and he means a ton to so many Vikings fans too that just loved watching him play. He was worth the price of admission because you knew that dude was going to get a sack. And the Vikings have had like historically amazing defensive ends, and he is a part of that lore.
Absolutely. So Favre was the key ingredient in 09. Like his finally deciding that he was going to play was absolutely the linchpin to what was, until the Saints game, a tremendously fun year. But Jared Allen, to me, was the first start of the spark in 08 when they got him. Because if you guys recall, they had not found a sufficient right end in ages. Ages. They tried what? Kenichi, Erasmus James. They were trying everything. And that trade was costly. But I think that you can safely say that is probably one of the top 3 trades in Vikings history.
Yeah.
Like that.
Absolutely.
That trade, if they don't get Jared in 08, I don't know that the whole thing with Favre comes together, because Favre joined this team, 1, because they ran an offense that he knew. 2, he was dying to shove it up the Packers, you know what. But 3, it was ready-made. Like this team was ready to, it needed one position by then, a quarterback. And I think Jared was absolutely instrumental there. So like, and he had what? I think 3 Deweys during his time with the Chiefs. He definitely had a falling out there. And as far as I know, he came here and was a good guy. Kept his nose clean, played well. But when you could bring in a guy who could provide the pass rush that Jared did, I think it took the Vikings from they're not pretty good to, holy cow, if they get Favre, they are going to take off, and they did.
Yes, that was, what a defensive line that was, man. Just the Williams wall. It was the best team in the NFL in 2009. And I think we would probably talk about that defensive line maybe close to the level of the Purple People Eaters defensive line if they would have won the NFC Championship game and beat the Colts in the Super Bowl. But
that's a great question too. Like, what would have, how revered would that group have been?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. I think don't all of them then go in? Like Pat Williams probably gets into the Ring of Honor. Is Kevin already in the Ring of Honor?
Kevin got in last year.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Pat would probably go in. I don't know if Ray Edwards gets in.
Probably not.
Ray?
But yeah, that front 4 was unreal.
So, 22 sacks in 2011 for Jared Allen, and one of the great sack celebrations, too, I think, in recent NFL history, the calf roping.
But he couldn't go down to a
unique.
knee, correct? Because at the time, it was a penalty. So like, he would almost get it was the most ridiculous NFL thing of all time.
If you go down to the ground, it's a penalty, 15-yard
And you're
penalty.
right.
Okay.
It's fantastic. What a bunch of BS that was.
Amazing. Hey, let's welcome a new sponsor to the show here for the football season, Finch Home Solutions. Tell the audience why they should care about Finch Home Solutions, Judd.
Here's why. If you're like me or Phil or Dex, guess what?
Yeah.
There are a lot of things you can't do. There's a
Speak
lot
for
of things
yourself.
around the house that you can't do. And I'm talking about electrical work. And Finch Home Solutions takes care of that. They can take care of everything from faulty outlets, flickering lights, installing or repairing electrical panels. Need a smoke detector update? Or perhaps your entire home needs rewiring, and that makes me quake in my boots because I would have no clue. Well, they've got you covered. No job is too big or small. Go to finchhomesolutions.com. That's finchhomesolutions.com, or call them 612-357-2604. finchhomesolutions.com, and tell them that your friend Zolgad told you to call because you know that they can do what we can't. And ladies and gentlemen, that is touch the wiring in our home. Finch Home Solutions has you covered.
Also, Federated Insurance has you covered if you're a business owner out there looking to elevate your business through risk management tools and resources. We talk about offensive line all the time on this show. Well, that's what Federated Insurance basically is. They are the Federated Shield protecting your business and looking out on the horizon with innovative, committed people guided by their core set of principles. Find out more about how Federated can help your business at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. All right, let's send Judd out to training camp here. Put a little sunscreen on that nose and go take some notes of full padded men.
What do you got? Some spray? Is the spray working for you?
Yeah, it's working great.
Okay.
And I like the spray. It's not as messy.
Is it 30, 45?
Yeah.
What,
Yeah, what do you got,
what level are you working with?
30. I tried 50. Dawn said, you don't need 50.
That's a bold
30's
call.
fine. I think she might be trying to kill me.
I think she is. I
think she's trying to kill me. I think my wife is actively, she watches those shows constantly. This would be a very, very creative way. Oh, honey, you just need an SPF 10.
She's like,
yeah.
They already determined that anything over 10 is harmful to your body.
I want to up his life insurance. $1 million.
Pinch Home Solutions. Let's get rid of Judd Zolgad.
Oh, amazing. All right, see you guys tomorrow, Purple Daily.